There's something strange about the games we played as children. We believed they were harmless, a way to pass the time. But when we choose the wrong places, when we enter places where shadows live and memories linger too long, the games become something else. This is the story of 5 friends and the game they should have never played. On a summer night in 2019, boredom led them here. Sarah, Michael, Billy, Lucy, and Tom were looking for a thrill. The Crawford mansion, abandoned and rotting, called to them like a dare. Tom, always eager for excitement, suggested a game of hide and seek inside. And against their better judgment, they agreed. The Crawford mansion had a reputation in the small town. It was a place where stories grew, where people whispered about ghosts and disappearances. But to 5 bored teenagers, those stories were nothing more than that, stories. The moment they entered, something shifted. The air was thick, heavy with memories. But they ignored it. To them, it was just another old house. They were too focused on the thrill of the game to see the signs. The game was simple. 1 seeker for hiders. Michael, always the brave one, offered to seek. He was the first to volunteer for everything after all. The others scattered, their excitement masking their growing unease. Michael counted slowly,
1,
his voice reverberating
2,
through the walls.
3,
But even as he counted,
4,
he could feel it.
5,
The house was listening.
6.
It was waiting. Billy hid in the basement, surrounded by old, forgotten things. Lucy found herself in the attic, where the air was thick with dust and decay. Tom slipped into the narrow hallways, the shadows stretching and moving with him. And Sarah lingered near the stairs, hesitant, as if sensing that this game was not like the others they had played.
98, 99, 100.
Michael began his search, confident at first. But as he wandered the halls, something changed. The house felt different. Every step he took felt heavier, and the shadows seemed to follow him, stretching longer than they should. Michael walks down a long, dark hallway, his flashlight beam flickering. A loud creak echoes from behind him. He stops, his heart racing. But when he turns, there is nothing. Michael was the first to feel it. The house was alive, watching, waiting. It wanted them to keep playing. It wanted them to stay. Billy, in the basement, could hear the house settling. Footsteps, creaks, groans. But they weren't natural. They were too deliberate, too patient. And then the darkness took him. Lucy, in the attic, was surrounded by the past. Old furniture, forgotten memories. She tried to steady her breathing, but something in the room was watching her. She could feel it, even before she saw it. She wasn't alone. The game wasn't just for fun anymore, and the rules had changed. Michael called out, but the house devoured his voice. It didn't want him to find the others. It wanted him to keep searching forever.
What? What is that?
The house opened doors for them, but not to lead them out, only deeper into the game. A low growl emerges from the shadows behind Billy, and he turns around, his eyes wide with fear. Michael stumbles into the foyer again, out of breath, his flashlight flickering violently. He looks around, realizing something's wrong. Michael knew this was no ordinary game. The house was playing with them, and it wasn't going to let them win. Sarah was the last to realize. Huddled in the dark, she thought she was waiting for Michael to find her. But those footsteps weren't Michael's. The door creaked open, and a dark figure appeared above it, and suddenly everything was dark. Michael panics, running through the house, calling for his friends.
Sarah!
Silence greets him,
Billy!
broken only by distant groans
Lucy!
from the mansion. He doesn't know he's the last one. One by one, the house has claimed them. But Michael still believes he can escape. Suddenly, the front door slams shut. He pulls at the handle. It won't open. There's no way out. And the house? It's not done yet. It wants more. It wants them all. Lucy sat in the attic, trembling. She heard footsteps, but didn't dare move. A dark shadow loomed behind her, unseen. She was trapped like the others. The house had taken her, just as it had taken so many before her. Now, she would be part of its game forever. The shadow caught up with her, and then everything went dark. The house didn't want Michael to escape. It was playing with him, leading him deeper into the game. The longer he ran, the more lost he became. Every hallway looked the same. No matter how far he ran, no matter how fast, the house was toying with him, bending reality to its will. The game wasn't just about hide and seek anymore. It was about survival, and the house was getting impatient. The attic was full of dust and forgotten objects. Lucy sat in the corner, her knees drawn to her chest, and she was left in near total darkness. Her instincts told her to move, to run, to escape, but the house had taken hold of her. The shadows that once roamed the corners were now drawing closer. She could feel them. She held an old, broken mirror in her hand, staring into the cracked glass. In its reflection, a faceless figure approached her. She turned, her eyes wide with fear, as the shadow closed in on her. There was no escape, not for her. Michael slowly pushes open the door. Inside, the room is empty except for a single cracked mirror on the wall, just like the one Lucy had found. He had seen this mirror before, but now it was different. His reflection didn't just mimic him, it mocked him, moving on its own, smiling as if it knew something he didn't. Trembling, Michael reaches out to touch the mirror. The reflection's grin grew wider. Suddenly, the reflection stepped out of the mirror, standing directly in front of Michael. It grinned, a twisted, inhuman smile. The house wasn't just trapping them, it was replacing them. The reflection stepped closer, its features twisting into something dark and unnatural. Its face stretched, becoming strange and shadowy, no longer human. Then it lunged at Michael, its form reaching out. Michael staggered back, his heart pounding in terror. Michael burst out of the room, slamming the door behind him. He sprinted down the hallway, his footsteps echoing against the creaking floorboards. There was no more running, no more hiding. The house had changed the rules. Now Michael was being hunted. The attic where Lucy was last seen was eerily quiet. Broken furniture and scattered debris lay untouched, as if frozen in time. The once familiar space felt heavier, darker, as though something unseen lingered in the air. Lucy had lost. The house had taken her, absorbing her into its very walls. Her presence lingered in the shadows, quiet but inescapable. She was part of the house now, forever. The basement was eerily silent. Shadows lingered in the corners, and Billy was nowhere to be found. Yet, the faint sound of his laughter echoed through the walls. Billy's voice would remain, forever haunting the dark, empty halls. But his body was gone. Michael exhausted and panicked. His mind raced, searching for a way out. But something else caught his attention. At the top of the staircase, a figure stood motionless. Michael's breath caught in his throat as he looked up. It was Sarah, standing silently, her face hidden in shadow. She didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there watching. Michael's eyes widen in shock. His heart races as Sarah slowly descends the staircase, her movements unnaturally slow.
Sarah, is that you?
Sarah doesn't respond. She reaches the bottom of the staircase, her face still obscured by the shadows. She stepped closer, her hollow eyes vacant, her lips curled into a twisted, unnatural smile, an eerie grin that didn't belong to her. It wasn't Sarah anymore. Whatever stood before Michael now was only a shadow of who she once was. Her body begins to shift, her form twisting into something dark and inhuman. The house had claimed them all, and now it wanted him. Michael stumbled back in fear, his heart pounding in his chest. Desperate, He turned to run, but before he could reach it, the front door slammed shut with a deafening roar. She steps forward, her voice soft, almost playful.
Ready or not, here I come!
The game had never been about hiding. It was always about finding. But what they didn't realize was that they were the ones being hunted all along. The house never lets them leave. It simply keeps them. And now, Sarah was the seeker. The others never stood a chance.